Hi, Seth and Peter. How are you?
All right, thanks. How are
Doing
you?
great.
Great, great. Well, I'm Laura Clark from LA Story. I really enjoyed your film, Endless Cookie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I just wanted to kick it off, asking you, what was the exact moment you realized that you wanted to make a movie about your relationship as brothers and Peter's mixed Indigenous experience?
It was his idea.
Oh yeah, it was when we were traveling. I was traveling with the previous film I made. We were traveling around Europe showing it in different countries and stuff like that. And people kept coming up to us and being like, "Oh, you're from Canada. Oh, the model citizen of the world. Like, oh, you're so, oh, you're so good to Native people. Oh, your environment, you're so good to the environment." And I was like, "What? No, like, Canada's an amazing place. We've got lots of great things, healthcare included, but I started having to be like tell people like that's not totally true, and I was like correcting people and talking about like the history of the First Nations, the way they were treated in Canada, and our environmental practices, and like like there's all these really messed up stuff. Uh, like we could do better. And I found myself telling Peter's stories, and it was just like fuck when I was traveling around, and it happened like multiple times, and I was just like, man, the next movie has to be like Pete telling his own stories with his own voice. And so that was kind of the beginning of like, oh yeah, maybe next project should be that.
Oh,
And
that's
then
amazing.
also a beautiful excuse to go hang out with Pete and the kids up north.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter, how did you feel about sharing such intimate moments of you and your family on film?
Um, I didn't really think about it because, it was just involving your family, like family stories. But I, I hadn't really thought about if there would be any backlash or effects of recording the stories. So just something that happened. He wanted to record some of my stories. And I said, well, that's interesting. No one's ever done that. Why not? So I don't know how came up with the stories.
Well, Pete's just naturally telling stories nonstop all the time. Like even over this last year of hanging out a whole bunch of times while we're doing movie stuff, I've heard like, probably like 6 or 7 stories I never heard before where I'm like, what the heck? That's amazing. Like I can't believe it. Um, So it's like very easy for my job. Like as Pete just can tell stories amazingly, like all the time. But not necessarily like if I'd be like, hey Pete, tell a story about, when you
Yeah, just
whatever you and then when you fell on the ice, and then he has to be like triggered into it to like get the really detailed and then like relive it and like, tell it. So there was a lot of, and like Pete's not an actor, none of the kids, none of the people in the film are really actors. So like none of our family are professional actors. So there was a lot of recording until people felt comfortable and then you could get natural performances. But it's true, we never really thought about it as like, like we're going to be telling all these personal stories. It kind of just happened by accident because we were talking about, like Pete said earlier, we were talking about what we know about.
man, one of my kids said, I thought the movie was over. Like, we're still still have to travel, go places and
Well, Cookie said the cutest thing. Cookie was like, when we were in Sundance on stage, she was like, I didn't realize we were making a movie the whole time we were doing it. I thought my uncle was just coming up to have fun and I loved it, like we were having fun and then making animations. She's like, I didn't realize we were going to show these to anyone else. And which,
Oh,
and then it was like, well, how do you feel about it? I think someone asked, and then she was like, I'm glad people like it. I think it's what she said.
that's amazing. That's really cool. And I have to say, it's amazing to see your faces because I recognize your voices so instantly from the
Oh, wow.
film. But obviously it was animated. Can you talk a little bit about how your animation kind of, informed, the characters or vice versa? How did those kind of mesh together?
Um, Well, it was kind of like some of the character design was like really like super thought out and like kind of like Rusty Redhead, Pete's brother, was his nickname is Milk Jug, and the milk caps in Shamattawa are red, and then his last name's Redhead, so it was kind of like, oh, he should be a red milk jug cap, obviously, you know. And then other ones, like, you know, it was kind of just like lucid, kind of like drawings and showing them to the family, and like people, if people laughed, then you know you knew you were on the right track. And sometimes it just felt right. Like there was a really bizarre, like kind of beautiful moment where we were showing some of the drawings to my 1.5-year-old, my son, when he was 1.5 years old, and he was like, Papa, Uncle Pete, Chris, you know, and it was like, oh my God, he didn't get it. He got a bunch wrong after that, but he got the first three right. I was like, oh my gosh, like we're on the right track. Like this is a clear sign. Uh, so there was sweet moments like that that informed the drawing. But you know, it's been a progression, like, you know, of making stuff over the years. Like the previous animation I made with my friend Shane, Asphalt Watches, you know, that was like a progression of figuring out how to animate and figuring out how to make characters and kind of represent people, not necessarily how they look, but maybe more how they feel, or how they are, you know,
Oh,
kind
I
of
love that.
what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great description. And Seth, I know this is, you're tackling a lot of issues here, especially with, uh, Indigenous people's stories. And how did you kind of make sure that the film explored Peter's experience without them, being othered, for a non-Indigenous audience?
Yeah, because I mean, we had like native people on the team like to watch it, and Jason Ryle was one of our producers. He's an amazing film person and producer on the film, and he was an eye on it just to make sure, because we were so connected to it, like it's easy to lose focus of like something that might be offensive, or just like, you know, kind of like a weird thing to do or whatever. But so we just showed it a little bit to different people to see what their reactions were like, and got feedback that way, just to try and avoid making anyone, you know, uncomfortable, or to do any faux pas or anything, you know. And telling stories in his own voice, I think also sometimes we know a lot of those because we would have to re-record things. Sometimes we'd have to clarify things, because it could be like you could like, you know, like you could be like with a story without like a little bit of what do you call it, backstory or like references, uh because in the family, often when we're telling the stories, we know all the histories and stuff of us, so we're leaving out all the important stuff. And so we would have to re-record, and so we had tricks like that in it, where we're talking to the granting officer and to explain a little bit, or talking to, you know, explaining something to my son, or, you know, Stuart, our dad, we're having a conversation with him or whatever, just to inform everyone of, you know, histories, and to give context to the broader picture was one of the goals, you know, like to make sure we weren't making something, you know, that could be misunderstood.
Absolutely. And, at the film, while there are lots of humorous moments, it tackles very serious subjects, like Indigenous incarceration and suicide. How did you kind of talk to each other about approaching those subjects for the film? And kind of how did you navigate that as far as tone?
I mean, they're like some of it's just realities, and you
You
know, it
know,
was like this is part of our lives, unfortunately. Like Rusty is in and out of jail. Like Sylvester went to jail for a little while. Like, you know, it's unfortunate, but those are part of like the native part of our family's reality. So it was very obvious to bring up. Um, and also
yeah,
just to make sure everyone was comfortable, we like asked about bringing up late Jess. It was like, all right, which it was nice, you know, like we want to honor her.
How did you feel about that, Peter?
I was surprised the first time I saw that was in there. I kind of threw me off a bit, but she's well, she's in there. So no, it was fine. It was kind of, it threw me off at first, but then I just thought it was all right. So
That was one of the only edits Pete made was the music for Jess's scene. He was like, "Now we got to get different music."
Oh, really? What was the music
It was by
change?
the same. It was by Victoria. It was by New Chance, my friend Vic, and it was it was like a different song that she'd made, and then we just changed it to something that would suit Jess more, which is pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
her animation was really cool too on the motorcycle.
Yeah, thanks.
And just how has your relationship as brothers kind of evolved or changed at all from the beginning of this film project to now?
well, I don't think anything's changed. We see each other more often than we have in the last 30 years, really.
Yeah, I think I'd been up every like 5 years over the 30 years. Like I'd gone up like maybe like 4 times or something, or 5 times. And so it's been really fun to hang out way more, well, especially this last year. We've hung out maybe like 7 times or 6 times. I don't know how many
Yeah,
times now. It
definitely.
seems crazy. I can't believe it's been 1 year. It's like been crazy. I mean, like we talk way more. We're it's been fun to have a reason to hang out with the Pete and including the other members of the family that have come down and stuff like that. It's been pretty fun to have kind of like that's what we were saying in the previous interview is like been having these family reunions just as a byproduct of everyone's in the families involved in the movie. So then we would go to a film festival and then sometimes they'll fly a bunch of us down and so then it'll be like what a beautiful way to celebrate a family portrait film is to like have like a like not everyone in the family but like to have a bunch of people in the family have a little gathering.
That's amazing. And like you said, the film took years to make. What were some of the challenges of making the film?
I guess we didn't get like tons and tons of money, so I had to be the only animator. We had one animator assistant for it was either 2 or 3 months, Julian Galiz, my friend. And that was kind of hard just because it takes so much time to like, get everything animated. And it was started like I remember just like praying, like, oh God, if I just work on this every day, it will be done at some point, like that kind of stuff, like totally crazy. But I think living so far apart made it extremely hard. Like for every time we needed a little extra bit, because I'm like the worst shopper. Like I don't know about Pete, but I leave the store like I grew up like Pete grew up there too, like in Kensington Market. It's like a fruit market, everything's so close. So like when I go to the store, I don't like it's so easy to go back. I'm so spoiled. I've never had to like that part of my brain that does everything you need is like missing. So I'm always like, oh, I forgot to get the ginger. I guess I'll just go back out. It's only 1 minute away. So a lot of like we would always need to re-record like certain little things, or I'd be like, oh, I forgot the beginning of the story, or whatever. And so that kind of became hard until we realized that we could just mail a
The
like an
recording stuff.
audio recorder. And it was like, oh yeah, I don't need to go up there, which I'm glad I didn't realize for so long because it was fun to go up so many times. Um, so then that actually made it way easier.
I bet, I bet. And I was waiting, in the film to kind of get or the reason why it was titled Endless Cookie. What was the moment when like you realized that is going to be your title?
I
I
think it
think
was,
Cookie being a nuisance.
yeah, it was the beginning of Cookie kind of interrupting and being a little
Yeah,
trickster.
because he's always showing off her drawings too, like, look at what I done, or
Like the literal thing where she thought we were just having fun, like making something, like, like interrupting recordings, like it was like not gonna matter, like it was just like, I mean, which makes it way better. It's more authentic. But that was like, yeah, that was the genesis.
Oh, that's fun. And what if you could just tell me like what are your favorite parts of the film? I know it's hard to choose and you put your heart and soul into this over many years, but is there a moment when you saw it played back for the first time where you're like, this came out just more amazing than I could have imagined?
Well, yeah, there is one moment that I was like, Peter's freaking amazing, was the ending, where it kind of like he's doing this history talk and then and then we kind of figured out a way to like zoom out. I really feel like we got really lucky.
That's good
You know,
stuff.
I always like the one about my brother with before he passed away, an owl showed up at his house, like one of those big white owls.
A snowy owl.
So it hung out at his house. It just like sat on his roof. And then one day, somehow he got it to land on his arm, but it wouldn't leave him. It wouldn't let go. So he ended up walking around with it. And it was just bizarre that, why it wouldn't let go of his arm.
I love that.
That is one of the other stories that's really nice is because
It was, it was really different. It was just that.
Rusty's like such a special character. It's like he passed away while we were making this. And so it's really nice that we got a full story off of him. Because he's like this amazing artist and character. So it is pretty special that we got one wild story off of him.
Yeah, and the police really did go to his house because somebody reported him that he had an owl for a pet in the house,
Totally ridiculous.
but it never went in the house. It sat outside on the roof.
It is an outside owl.
We don't know how that happened, or just the owl decided to hang out with him.
I love that. And congratulations on all the awards you've already won and that you're nominated for.
Thank you.
How does that feel?
Feels insanely good. It's like
Yeah,
confusing. It's become like, what is going on? Like, I don't even want to tell people every time we win an award now, I'm like, I feel like I'm like bragging or something. It's like too much. I'm like,
yeah,
we were doing the laurels on a t-shirt and it was like, geez, it's kind of taking over the shirt. Like there's too many laurels.
my kids back home. It's just they figure it's just something that happens. It's like
They're like, I guess you win awards when you
I
make
guess
movies.
this is
All
what
the time.
happens. Yeah, every couple of months you get a new one.